JD,
Hey,
welcome to the podcast, man.
Byron, it's great to be here.
This is awesome. In person.
In person, yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
which is cool.
Yeah. Well, you just like drove around the sound instead of taking the ferry.
Yeah, the ferry's always nice, but when you do the math, it made sense to drive, you know.
So JD Lenard, Long Island. Why don't you tell everybody listening a little bit about you, your team, your location, and then we'll get into some stuff.
Yeah, okay. So I currently run a team of about, it's in flux, people coming on, but let's just say about 10 people on Long Island. Second generation, my father got in the business in 1985 and, took to it. But when he got into the business, it was more, the mindset was more, I'm a realtor, not an entrepreneur, not a business person. And so as I came up in the business and finally joined full time about 11 years ago at this point, I saw it a different way. I saw that it could be, there could be this space for a team structure. And back then, teams were still exotic, right? And that's become part of our real estate lexicon now. But
so when did your dad start it?
1985.
85.
Yeah, I was in like second grade.
That's an early team.
Yeah, well, back then...
Does he say he invented teams in Long Island? Does he claim that?
No, he doesn't. But I mean, look, he started by himself, and then it was just a natural progression of, it was a family team, right?
Yeah.
Like he dragged my mother into it, eventually me. And then we reached a point where it's like, if we wanted to reach our full potential, we couldn't do it with all the people on Long Island with the last name Lenard. It just wasn't going to work. So, it was an adjustment period, especially for him. But, as he's like taking a step back, he's really seen the value and seeing where we're going. It's really exciting, to be honest.
Yeah. And nobody knows this probably listening, maybe a few people, but we're in the same mastermind.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for letting me in the mastermind. I was very grateful for that invite, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. But
has it only been a year and a half? It feels like
it's
been like 10 years already. I mean,
well, since I've been, I don't know how long you guys have been.
No, I mean, with you, yeah, like I don't remember a time when you weren't in it.
I mean, there's 9 of us and just all you guys are total rock stars. I've learned so much. What do you get out of being in a mastermind? I know so many people try to start mastermind, they fall through. And what are you getting out of our mastermind?
Oh my gosh, where to even start? Like you said, right? It's so many people start and they fail. So you got to be in it for the right reasons. You got to be willing to commit to being accountable. That's part of it. And look, we also have coaches because we're all also clients of Tom Ferry's coaching. But then you get to a point after that where you need almost like real-time R&Ding, and you need to know what's working.
What's our R&Ding for people that don't know?
Well, actually, I mean in the traditional sense.
You mean okay? So the sense that people would know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, in the sense that people would know. But we also talk about rip off and duplicate, and we do that with each other as well.
Correct.
But
it's an open sharing format where it's not ripping off because it's like, JD, you asked me for something or I asked you for something. It's like, hey man, I'm going to share that with you. I'll share the Google Doc or whatever. I'll just send it over to you. Yeah,
we're conceiving things together, and your success is my success. And that's actually a notion that we have on our team, but it actually extends to the mastermind as well. When Tom Toole, for example, has a success and he sends a text message like, hey man, like you were right and this is awesome. It's just like, hey, we're helping each other grow.
Hopefully our text thread never gets released out into the internet. There's always that fear with people, right? Like, oh my gosh, all my texts are going to like end up on the internet someday. I feel like our mastermind, that'd be one of those things. We don't want that being just...
Well, not without a book deal.
Yeah, right. Ness is out there. We got to get the mastermind going on the book.
Yeah, but we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
So you're diving into something that kind of was on like why masterminds and all that we're talking about right now, but. Man, the world has really changed. And I don't even know where it's going. I'm not even sure now is the right time to write a book because whatever we thought it was going to be, by the time everything shakes out with COVID and all that stuff, it's gonna be a different world.
It's probably a good thing we didn't get halfway through it because you're right. We would have gone all the way back to the beginning and rewrote the thing.
Yes, but in saying that, I'm also grateful to have the mastermind because we're finding our way through faster, stronger, better. I mean, we're coming out stronger. I mean, that just like,
what advice would you give to somebody? I got lucky. Like, I started creating relationships in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, and I met enough of you guys where you guys said, hey, it makes sense. I think you guys were at 7 at that point, and then we brought Lisa on as well. But where it made sense, where you guys extended the invite. What advice would you give to somebody who's looking for that tribe, that ecosystem that is large but small enough where they can all gain value from each other?
So one of the things that I've observed over time is like the size does matter. And what I mean by that is, like, if it's too small, it's just a couple of friends talking. Hey, there's I've got friends, outside of the mastermind group that are running teams that I'm, happy to have as friends and continue that relationship with. But when it comes to an actual mastermind that's dedicated to a certain like mission statement, if it gets to be too big, it becomes unwieldy and it can fall apart easily, right? Because there's just too much noise, especially in the text message thread, right? Like, how many times have you been busy during the day and you look at our East Coast Mastermind text message thread and you're just like, oh my God,
sometimes I look at my little, the dot there next to your text message. What is that called? The little banner number. And I'll be like, what? I haven't responded to 200 text messages. And then I'll like click on the East Coast Mastermind thread and it's like, 190 of them were there. I only have 10 I need to clean up. Right?
Yeah. So to get to your answer more directly though, I think you actually have to strike the right balance. And that's what we have. And by balance, I said before that you have to be willing to commit to an incredible amount of accountability.
Yeah.
And
we talk weekly.
To talk weekly. And when we say we're going to do something, if we don't do it in a certain period of time, you start getting pressure, right? Yeah. Like if you say you're going to hire a sales manager in the next 6 months and 7 months goes by and 8 months, we're going to be like, hey, what's going on? This is what you committed to. Right?
Yeah. It's not talking, it's committing.
Oh, it's committing. Yeah. But wait, hold on a second. Cause the second part of that is also forgiveness, right? I wasn't able to make our weekly call today.
Yeah.
It's okay. Right? Like once in a while, it's okay. It's understandable because there has to be an understanding of everybody's operating in good faith. What happens is if that good faith starts to break and there's doubt that you're committed, well, then there ought to be a conversation around that, an honest one, and say, hey, are you still committed to this? Because if not, that's cool.
Right.
But this is where we're going, and we hope you still want to come with us.
Yeah, and there's such a large difference. We've been doing an accountability group. We're on our third one with the team, and they're 6-week groups. Just same way we did actually a mastermind retreat and kind of went through this whole thing, how it works, how it doesn't. And so we're on our third one, and there's such a big difference we're learning as a team together between goals and commitments, right? Like saying, oh, I'd like to do this, or this is a goal, is one thing, right? Like whatever, it's a production goal or a weight goal for your fitness or whatever. And then it's like, no, I'm committed to doing this. And that's what we do really well in the mastermind is we hold each other to, I'm going to do this. It's not a like to do, not a goal. Like goals are actually, I'm finding more and more now that I think about it, goals are pretty weak. Like, what are your commitments? Your goals are just things you theoretically want. They're kind of weak, right? In a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, I mean, I'm not ready to leave goals behind altogether. But I get your
commitments.
Yes.
They start to happen.
Yes.
If you're held accountable to them.
The goal is, I like to think of things in terms of like climbing that mountain, right? That metaphorical mountain, and you see the top, and that's your goal. But to get there, I mean, you need a pretty significant level of commitment to continue. Like I was talking about earlier today on the show we were shooting here, and I was talking about how, like, you have your goal that you start going towards, and at some point in that journey up the mountain, like the top can become obscured in clouds, and you look down, you can't see from where you started before, and you're just like, you can feel lost. but the commitment pushes you forward to continue, even if you can't see that mountaintop anymore, because you know it's there. Yeah. So I think, in my opinion, it's maybe a blend of the two.
Talking about mountaintops, my opinion, Zillow is sitting at the top of the mountain.
Yes. In
the real estate industry. Yeah. I feel like the war has been won. And this is my
Okay, go ahead.
Thought. I feel like the war has been won. Zillow, their brand is too big at this point. And just like a consumer that has a used car that wants to sell it when they want to know how much their car's worth, they're not calling their local mechanic. They're going right to Kelley Blue Book instantly. They're figuring out the value and they're going from there. But that's first step. And when I mean the war has been won by Zillow, first step for a consumer when they start having thoughts of anything, even if they have an agent in mind that they're going to call regardless, they're doing initial research to some degree on Zillow.
Yes, 100%.
Are they on the top of the mountain to stay?
Okay, good question.
And you're agent advisory board, so I know there's things you can say, can't say, but I do want to make that clear.
So,
JD's Zillow agent advisory board, he's very deep into the Zillow world, which I think his opinion brings a lot of value for what he can say on this podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's a nuanced.
This is an overall brand conversation, so
sure. But like, it's a nuanced view, and where I'm coming from, like, question mark, are they? And that just comes from, any business, even your business, my business. I never want to think that I'm actually on the mountaintop, because what I also express in my fundamental ideas of business is that whenever you get to a mountaintop, there's always the next mountain that's even bigger that you got to start climbing. And as soon as you think you're on the highest mountain, it's a dangerous place to be, because somebody else is going to come behind you and outclimb you or whatever, to extend that analogy. And so I know the people at Zillow all the way up at the top are extremely smart people, and they're never going to rest on their laurels, and they're going to be looking for what the next competition could be. So that's where that's coming from. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue that Zillow is a brand name that is, it's in every household in America pretty much. Like, yeah, they won for now.
Where do you now? You're looking like, let's just go to your team, right? You guys are on Zillow, but you're not on Flex. Right?
Correct. Yeah, it just hasn't come to Long Island.
Do you know what % of the country right now is on Flex and not on Flex?
Actually, it's not that clear to me.
It's not.
I know a lot of the people I know that I'm friendly with and just know I'm from the agent advisory board are on it. It just hasn't come to Long Island yet. So,
any sense of how profitable Flex is versus the zip code, the buying zip codes, which has been the old model?
I don't know if I can say.
No.
I think it's going all right for them from what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
And this is public information, I think, but certain cities where they have they started kind of early, that it looks promising. Yeah.
I mean, to me, when I look at our numbers and what we're on Flex.
Okay.
Right. And so the amount of money we're sending over on Flex, which I love, by the way, because we weren't heavy buying zip codes. We just weren't. We weren't buying zip codes before. So for us to be on Flex was fantastic for us.
I think that was remarkable that they came to you even though you weren't like a huge buyer. But yeah.
And so it's worked out really well for us. It's been a great relationship. But I do look at the numbers of referral fees. Basically, if you're on Flex, or if you're unfamiliar with Flex is you don't pay up front for these leads, you pay when the transactions get closed, which is why they want to work with top performing teams in each market, because they want these deals to close. They want conversion so that they get paid on these deals, right? And I'm like, wow, which is why I've been screaming, and Sam knows on all the real words and everything, I've been screaming forever to agents, buy Zillow stock, like, hedge your business with Zillow stock, buy Zillow stock, because when they go 100% across the country, I feel like this is going to be extremely lucrative for Zillow when they're getting a piece of that many transactions potentially.
Yeah, they are increasing their revenue exponentially. Yes.
What do you think about? So, okay, but they found a great way to become whatever you want to call it. I use the Kelley Blue Book analogy. the resource, the MLS for the consumer. They've made that pretty easy, right? What about the people Brad Inman was talking about in Inman Connect recently, really taking real estate into this fully virtual experience? You think Zillow is going to be capitalizing there?
Yeah, without a doubt.
In what ways?
I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like that's just the next frontier.
What ways though come to mind?
Rich has talked about, real estate, the future of real estate and Zillow's place in it. In what ways?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Like when you hear that, when you hear the entire transaction is going to be virtual.
What's your doubt there?
My doubt is that I don't believe there's going to be a large amount of transactions that happen without buyers physically getting inside of the real estate, the tangible asset of real estate, and walking through it before they make the final decision. I will say, since March, since the world of COVID, we've sold properties sight unseen. It's happened. But it hasn't happened anywhere close to the majority of our transactions. It's not 1 of 4. It's closer to 5% of the transactions.
Right.
Still, even through a health crisis, people wanted, biggest purchase of their life, they wanted to walk through the home at least once, even if it was quick.
Yep. Yeah. So maybe it won't be 100% virtual, but imagine like you're a buyer and you're already well into the process by the time you've even looked. I mean, maybe it happens during the engineering inspection. Mm-hmm. You show up with that engineering inspector, but otherwise pretty much everything else could be done. What's
your line in Rhode Island? Sorry to cut you off. What's your line of under contract, then like ours is under contract, then inspections, the journey. So maybe the journey changes in a lot of markets because of the virtual experience.
Yes. But I think that it, based on what we experienced, like we sold houses on the team during the pandemic. I never set foot in as an agent. The buyer never set foot in as an agent, and we got it done.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, the beginning couldn't look like that, right? If you look at the Wright brothers, their first plane, it went like, I don't know, 50 yards or something like that, right? To like flight today. And even SpaceX going to the International Space Station. I mean, it's remarkable. These were the first steps. And not for nothing, but you can go on Amazon and get a $15 pair of Google Cardboard, right? These virtual goggles that you slide your iPhone into or smartphone, and it becomes a VR experience. And it makes total sense to me that with the technology we have today, we can shoot almost perfect VR experiences that can be experienced in that way. It's not a leap to get there. Sure. To do, look, when I got in the business, when I really started in earnest, the market, that's when the market tanked, right? 2009, 10. And that was a total buyer's market. And I remember showing buyers homes like 30, 40, 50 homes to getting to an accepted offer, because that was the nature of the market then, which seems crazy today.
Certainly does.
But imagine only having to show to visit that actually one house because you've already toured them and you've eliminated the process to the point where I only need to see this one house because I've already been in the other homes and they're not going to work for whatever reason. I mean, that can happen right now. Mm-hmm. That's not even in the future.
Yeah. I mean, certainly right now with the market, low inventory, people are looking at less homes, but that's more of a situational market.
But it just goes to show once again that the buyers, will respond to the marketplace and, availability, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have the luxury of going to see 20, 30 homes. It's just not realistic if they're properly motivated to buy. And they know they may have one shot at their dream home, so they better take it. But still, I think that also with the technology is sort of priming the expectations of the public that it's possible to see 1, 2, or 3 homes and make an offer. And with the technology, maybe if ever stepping foot in the house is further down the line. So to answer your question, yeah, Zillow is perfectly poised to leverage all of this, the technology that we have now and the software that they're building to be able to create an experience that the consumers want.
You're feeling in this market with, we just mentioned the low inventory, a lot of new interest in your Long Island market, New York, New York City folks probably wanting to get out of the city, like here on the Connecticut shoreline.
Yep.
Future of the Northeast market, what is it?
It's funny. I was just talking about a friend who runs a brokerage in Manhattan, and she's actually on the AAB. It's Teresa Stevenson. She's awesome. But so I was talking to her about because we're in two different markets. She is seeing flight, and we're seeing we're the beneficiaries of that. But you talk to agents on Long Island, and they're just like, this is the greatest thing ever. This is our market is exploding. We're doing so many deals, and I think it's a cautionary tale, right? Like the what do you call it? What is it? Something along the lines of what happens to New York City eventually happens to us, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, without a thriving New York City, the best city in the world, without that city being vibrant and having people in it and jobs, is the rest of the Northeast even desirable? I mean, let's face it, 7 months of the year here are not that great weather-wise, right?
Yeah.
6 at least months.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So without a healthy New York City, can these suburbs and rural areas outside of the city survive long-term?
I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Look, the economy of Long Island has basically been transformed into a service economy. It is teachers, police officers, FDNY, a lot of it. I mean, not all of it, of course, but a lot of it is servicing New York City, and a lot of it is public jobs. And if New York City doesn't do well, Long Island isn't going to do well. And I have to venture to guess it's the same for the Connecticut coast.
Yeah.
In the long term. But I don't want to be a downer. I think we, whatever your philosophy is, or whatever you think about COVID, if it gets solved in the psyche of the populace, I mean, it's game on, and we're okay.
Short term, and I think a lot of it does deal with the COVID issue, right? But short term, I don't know about you, but here in Connecticut, we just did it with the team. And yesterday, we went all the way back to 2003, and we looked at the chart of pending and closed sales. And so, this time of year, or really more traditionally spring, we're kind of living through a spring market later in the year. We're way up here, closings and pendings. And then come February, we're way down here on the chart. We're at the bottom. And you can go every single year all the way back to 2003 when we get good data on the MLS. January, February are in the tank, and then spring, summer are up really high. Is that similar for your market?
Yeah. Traditionally, yeah.
And I think maybe this year
it's seasonally. It's related to the seasons. It's related to when the kids go back to school, when they're off, that kind of thing.
Sitting here in August, and none of us can predict the future, and we've learned that over the last 6 months for sure. But sitting here in August, do you think this is a winter where we break the mold, where the interest from specifically New York City continues to flow to these suburb and rural markets? Connecticut shoreline, Long Island Sound, along the Sound, basically, through the winter months, where they historically have not, where they've been very quiet? Or do you think that as we get closer to the holidays, people are just going to bunker down wherever they are and try to ride this winter out and take it day by day because we don't know what's coming?
Well, I wish I had the data with me right now. But one thing I know, and I can speak to at least anecdotally, again, with my father being in real estate since 1985, the couple of things that we've observed is one thing that we've observed cycle after cycle after cycle is when you have a presidential election, it cools things off. So this year, I mean, in November, especially, starting in November, as we get to that point, I think things will slow down then. I think a lot of this particular winter will have to do with, again, is COVID going to sneak back into our lives at all? Or are we going to be able to keep it pretty much minimal? But
our numbers have been really good here in Connecticut lately. I mean, I'm knocking on wood because now
like
I probably just
for people
us.
listing,
our numbers have been good for when you mentioned
COVID. Yeah. Ours too. And hopefully they stay that way. I actually don't think we're in a great market. If from a subjective point of view, I mean, like, what is great, right? Am I making money? Yes. Are you making money? Yes. But is it in the 30,000 foot view, subjective look? I think it's broken right now.
In which way? It's probably record. We had a record July for pendings and closings for Connecticut by a lot. So maybe that's unhealthy because it's just too extreme at the top. Is that where you're going with that? Has it been a record month in your area or
no?
Not?
Like I said, we're doing a lot of deals, and in one sense, I'm grateful, but I do get concerned. Like my father was concerned in 2006 and 7. He's like, okay, we're making tons of money. It doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. And let me give you an example. And this is just one example, right? A homeowner in Smithtown, New York, which is on Long Island, Suffolk County, which is where I was born and raised, is in a 3-bedroom ranch. They have the money for a down payment. They have the equity in their house. They want to move up to maybe North Smithtown into a 5-bedroom colonial. They can afford it. If I put their house on the market today, I could have an accepted offer tonight. Okay. But where do they go? Because that colonial doesn't exist on the market. And if it does, there are already so many people making bids on that one. The likelihood I can get them, like, the Lenard Team, we're awesome and we get more offers accepted. But just as like a thought exercise, right? That buyer has a hard time getting that house. And by the way, they may be competing with somebody who has nothing to sell. It's like, but I can sell my house in a day, but still the terms maybe don't make them as appealing as somebody else. And that's really tough. That's what I mean by broken. Like in a more balanced market, you might have, hey, we want to sell and move up. Okay, great. Let's get your house on the market. And while we are finding your house, we're going to put together a buyer.
Yeah.
And then you've identified this house that you love, but hey, if you didn't get it, that's okay because we have option 2, 3, or 4.
Impossible right now.
Impossible. And over time, I just, what I'd like to see in this scenario that you've laid out or asked about, I think the ideal would be like maybe it does cool a little bit and more sellers decide that they want to put their house on the market and it reverts back to a more healthy market. Obviously, I don't want it to like slow down too much.
We don't want a cliff.
Yeah, we don't want a cliff.
It almost I mean, you brought up 06 and 7 when you mentioned your father saying, yeah. It's like, are people, is this a mad rush right now? Because people are rushing around trying to find their spot before the cliff, right? It's like, it's just too weird.
I think it's the market dynamics. It's, circumstances, like we can't possibly know all the circumstances that brought us here. But I do think, the historically and low interest rates has played a huge part.
Did you see what Fannie and Freddie did today? Probably not, because you shot a million videos. But
Yeah.
Fannie and Freddie put a 0.5% fee on refis now starting September 1. So an additional 0.5%. You know why? Because they're, we've got all these low crazy interest rates, and they're trying to slow down the refi market.
I think that could be good.
Yeah.
I think that so if you can refi and take cash out of your house, out of the equity at an extremely low rate, or it's not as appealing anymore, that might cause you to want to sell to get a different house, right? Mm-hmm. That's just one example. And just slowing down the market in general. And by the way, I don't want to create any like panic here either, because I'm not saying we're at 2006 or 2007. Like let me just say that too. We're not on the cliff per se the way we were, because people have equity in their house that
Correct.
they didn't have before. I mean, there's a different, it's not apples to apples.
KCM's done a great job educating the real estate industry.
Yes.
Over 50% of homeowners in this country have either 50% equity in their house or more, or 100%. You know, some people have 100%, but 50% of homeowners have at least 50% equity in their homes. That was not the case back in 06, 07,
Correct.
08, when things fell apart.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's not apples to apples, but it's, you know, what's that saying? History doesn't repeat itself, but it kind of rhymes or something like that. I've heard. And I think that to a certain extent, like again, I'm not cynical. I'm just, these are the things that as a business person, you got to look for, as while, by the way, we're having like a record year, we're growing, it's exciting.
And so how do you help your clients understand that, you know, this market, when we're trying to learn the data as it comes in every single day, how do you help clients feel confident in the decisions they're making right now?
Well, it's kind of easy to fall back on our track record. You know, we like to say we've never left anybody homeless, but the question goes back onto them. What is your motivation? Why are you doing this? Is it important? Is it that important to you? And if it is, if you have a need and we can fulfill it, we're going to fulfill it. And that's really what it comes down to, with hopefully a 5-star experience. Yeah. I mean, it sounds cliche or trite, but that's really that's our guiding principle that helps us get through the day, because, I mean,
listening.
And if that's what you want to do and you have your reason for doing it, I mean, we definitely have the experience. So.
Did you know any of those agents in that Newsday study? How close was that to your area?
Oh, that's all of Long Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with this. No, I'll tell you, like when it came out, I was a little dejected, you know, even a little defensive.
Because you didn't want that picture to be painted. You know so many great agents. You know how your team operates. You know the values that you guys hold. And you didn't want that to be the picture of a Long Island agent, I'm certain. Yeah,
but, you know, life is funny. And just recently, I don't know if you saw it, but a young RE/MAX agent posted something on Twitter that was just god-awful and kind of was as embarrassing or more so to Long Island in our profession.
From Long Island?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I saw it.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was, it was related to the Black Lives Matter protests, and he posted a video of himself with an AR-15. Just not. Did
he see the Newsday investigation?
You would have thought.
So, wow. So
just
probably somebody who hasn't sold a deal or something like that, or is it's somebody that actually produces?
What? No, it was somebody that produces. But honestly, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this particular person, because I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I don't know where his parents stand on this, but it was their brokerage, and I've done a lot of deals with this person. And if his parents are coming from the right place, and unfortunately, you know, your kids sometimes do stupid things, hopefully their whole business isn't destroyed by, you know, the actions of their kid. In one sense, you could say that you might, you know, somebody less heartless might, I shouldn't judge, but
I mean, it's not a political post. It's a dumb post, but
it was definitely political.
Well, political. Yeah. Because the whole thing's been politicized, but it's clearly just a bad value from that person. Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, the content was pretty bad.
Yeah. You know? Well, I mean, kind of what you're describing there, and you'll have to show me the post after the podcast, but
yeah.
What's your take on, not to that extreme, but agents, because we're getting close to November 3.
Yeah.
What's your take on agents doing any political posting? Maybe they're part of a political committee, or they're, you know, friends with somebody who's running locally. What's your take on a real estate professional posting anything online that has to do with politics, even at the lowest level?
So Yeah, that's a good question. Well, man, there's so many ways to go here. First of all, on an extremely local level, very often that doesn't have anything to do with like red or blue.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
At the extreme local level, if you're trying to get a park, built, that may be like cool. That might be something. And then the next part is I'm going to give you my personal philosophy for the world or like for the industry, and then I'll tell you the Lenard Team way. Okay. For my personal view, if you were asking me and you weren't on my team, I would say that's an extremely personal decision. That's a business decision that you need to make for yourself. But just be mindful that you are putting yourself potentially into a niche that is limiting your ability to be, appealing to a wide variety of audience that exists in the communities that you want to serve. But someone could also argue that maybe this is a niche that like I can build myself up in, that is going to look at me like, my branding is red, white, and blue, for example, and not saying good or bad, but, I drive a Dodge Ram and, let's go. And there's enough of a following in the communities that you want to serve to say, hey, that guy represents what I stand for, what I believe in, and I want him to be, or she to be my realtor. Hey, that's fair. That could be a fair argument.
Yeah. So in that case, I guess it could come down to how big do you want to scale your business, right? If you're not into maybe widespread scale, then maybe looking at and real estate agents have done this for years.
Yeah.
I'm a divorce specialist. I'm a waterfront specialist.
Yes.
I'm a luxury specialist. I'm a whatever specialist.
I mean, look, we read a lot of business books. I've read a lot of business books that talk about finding your niche and as that being a good thing and not trying to be everything to all people. Now, the Lenard Team way is that's not our approach.
Yeah.
We're getting too big. We're serving too many people. It would be cutting off our nose to spite our face. And the Lenard Team way is, keep the bumper sticker off your car.
Yeah. Don't
post politically. Be
a full-time real estate agent.
Yeah.
If you're into the politics, go run. Go do that as a profession. But here, right? Yes. Here at One & Company, for sure, we're full-time real estate professionals.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, what about the Facebook groups, the endless number of Facebook groups that are out there where just politics on a daily basis just get injected into the argument?
Yeah, that's insane.
I tune out. I cannot. I'm too busy.
Well, I unfollow people. I see people here in this town that we're sitting in that are, co-brokers of ours that are posting this stuff every day. I'm like, one, how do you even have time in this market to be posting about this kind of stuff?
And if you're thinking about that, the consumer has to be thinking about that.
Well, the consumer, whether they agree or disagree with the particular post, is thinking, are you even full-time? Are you like committed to selling homes?
Yes.
Probably not. I'm probably going to call the person like One & Company that is just posting real estate, that's educating consumers, that's focused on the best marketing tactics to sell homes in this environment, right?
Yeah. Well, the One & Company way is the Lenard Team way.
Yeah. I agree with the Lenard Team way for sure. All right. Couple quick questions and then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Sure.
Next 5 years, more agents or less agents in the industry?
I hope less. You never know, but I really hope a lot less. Many fewer agents.
Yeah.
But structurally, things would have to change significantly for us to see that. It can't be so easy to get your license and maintain it.
People online right now saying coaching should be free. You and I have always paid for coaching.
Really? I haven't seen that post.
Yeah. Is that ridiculous, or is there some credibility to that?
So I don't know how to answer that. I was on the way from Long Island to Connecticut today. I was listening to the latest Tim Ferriss podcast, and he was interviewing Sia, and like Sia's talking about her meditation person, and Tim Ferriss is like, I don't think you should have to pay for that. Or it might have been the other way around. Like Sia was saying that. No, it was Tim. And I was just like, like just threw like a total like wet rag over what she was saying. I thought it was kind of funny. Oh, so what's the value proposition then? Like, what is what is the coaching company? How do they stay afloat? Like, how do they continue to provide value? I don't know. I actually haven't been a part of this conversation because I've been too busy, but tell me.
No, there's just there are voices online saying, oh, these paid coaches, they're not bringing you any value. Like, come join me on my free coaching experience, my free coaching.
Well, there's always an angle. Nothing's free.
Right. That's my point. How do you have to give up your email? Do you consider giving up your email free?
No.
Correct.
Of course not. Come on. No. Anytime you give up information, you're giving up value. You're giving something away for free gosh, I don't know how you determine this, but I heard it recently that your personal data is worth more than gold or something like that. But again, something is digital.
There's
in the
value
others.
there in the personal data. I would agree. Rocket Loans just IPO'd. Are they the Zillow of mortgages?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask this question, only because unless the entire podcast audience exists on Long Island. And I say that because the Long Island market is so unique. They have a really hard time penetrating there and doing a good job. Mm-hmm. So it's actually, if they're not a player yet, really. And they're going to have
a lot of local relationships.
Oh, like almost entirely local, if not like you have your credit unions like Teachers or Bethpage Federal Credit Union, but yeah, I mean, it's all local. But then I was talking on one of our mastermind calls, and if you recall, like I was like dismissive.
You had a good experience, didn't you?
No, Karen.
Oh, Karen did.
Karen Peters was like, oh, they're great. They do a great job. That's just not the case because. Again, I don't want to get into the weeds with how transactions are done. The journey takes place on Long Island, but it's very different. And if you're in a call center in Detroit and you don't have it's hard. It would be hard to do.
All right. I think that's good. That was just for me, for my stock tips. Should I buy Rocket Mortgage?
I would, okay, I'll say this because I watch their ads and they've got pretty good marketing.
They have a ton of marketing. Yeah. They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Man. And they own half of like the real estate in downtown Detroit from what I hear. Yes.
That might not be a good thing.
Well, I don't know why you don't see Detroit.
Maybe long term. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. I mean having downtown space.
They've IPO'd. They've got to answer every quarter. I don't know if Detroit's going to be booming next quarter.
Yeah. That bet on it becoming like the new hipster city. Yeah.
When would it happen? Right.
And when there's a safe, reliable vaccine that the public trusts.
All right, let's leave everybody with one thing. There's so many people that are always considering building a team. Number one thing anybody listening should consider before they would ever build a team. Team leader for that is not for everybody. So if somebody's thinking about it, they've been dwelling about it, what one piece of advice would you give them? And then where could everybody connect with you and or your team?
Okay. So the starting point for becoming a team leader, very often it comes from an erroneous place, right? It's hard because it makes sense in a trajectory. If you like draw it out, you get to a certain point in your business where you can't just do the things yourself and you need help, and you want to have agents like that to take maybe overflow. But and so for a lot of people, I believe they get into like the team leader role for the right reasons, they believe. But one of the things that I have discovered in this is that the skill sets and the learning curve to being a good team leader, forget great, just a good, effective, profitable team leader is actually very different from being a good, profitable real estate agent doing a lot of deals. And if you're coming at it from an ego-based position, as Tom Ferry likes to call the hero minion model, which you see a lot of.
Yeah.
I would say I would caution you to take a step back, really evaluate the reasons why you want to be a team leader, and then and then really, really plan and be in it for the long haul and be ready to climb that very big mountain. And that's it. I mean, nice. If you ever want to ask yourself, I'm sure people can reach out to you. They can reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to walk them through it and like how we've gotten as far as we've gotten. But.
Yeah. It's not because it's business owner is what it is.
Yes.
At that point. It's business owner, it's
entrepreneur,
operator.
CEO, business owner.
Yeah.
Buck stops here. And also leading from, positivity, empathy, encouragement, and, like very often it gets boiled down to stick or carrot. I think a great successful team that has longevity, it's basically all carrot.
Yeah. All right, JD.
Yep.
This was awesome, man. We're going to link up people can find you in the links. We'll link it all up. Long Island, obviously. So anybody knows somebody going to Long Island, hit JD up. Yeah.
And if you are an agent, I'm so passionate about this. If you're an agent and you're on Long Island and, like your broker or your team leader, he just doesn't feel like has the answers, man, I'm so excited about where we're going. And that excitement just means like, I just want to share it with more people that have that drive, that desire to climb their own mountain and maybe climb the mountain with us. Reach out to JD. If you're in Long Island and you have a real estate license, reach out to JD now. Appreciate it, brother. This was fun. Always good to see you, brother. You too. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching the podcast all the way to the end. If you're enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel. And better yet, do me a favor and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this particular episode and who you'd like me to talk to next. And don't forget to watch some more podcasts.